Hey everybody, Bob Babbitt here, Challenged Athletes Live. Our next guest, five-time winner of the Ironman World Championship in the handcycle division, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, former Navy SEAL, the legend himself, also an inductee into the USA Triathlon Hall of Fame, Mr. Carlos Moleda. Carlos, how the heck you doing?
I'm doing well, Bob. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Always so much fun to chat with you. So, where did you grow up? Did you grow up in South America?
Yes, actually, a lot of people, don't know this, but I'm Brazilian. I was born in Brazil, and until I was about 18 years old, I love skateboarding. That was my thing. I love skateboarding. And the end of like around 1979, we came to California for our World Championship skateboarding. So I came. I loved California. I'm like, oh, I went back home and I told my mom, I got to go back there, man. I got to, that's at the height of the 1970s skateboarding, Tony Alva, all those guys. And, so I went home and I told my mom, I want to go back and live that life. So that's what I tried to do. You know what I mean? I turned 18. I had a little bit of money, came here thinking, okay, I'm going to go and live the life, the skateboarding life. And, it never happened, man. You got to go to work. You got to pay bills, so your priorities change a little bit.
And you become a Navy SEAL.
Yes. I mean, eventually, I worked a lot, I became like a workaholic, and that wasn't the reason I came here, just to work. So I want an adventure. I want my life to be this thing, that's not the norm, so I love diving, scuba diving.
Right.
So I wanted to become a deep sea diver, so I joined the Navy to do that. And while I was, in boot camp, I learned more about the SEALs, and that's when, the lightning struck, and I said, that's what I want. I mean? And here's the thing though, I didn't know how to swim. They threw me in the pool. I'm like, okay, this is easy. Within 25 meters, man, I was drowning. The guy
and you want to be a SEAL.
Exactly. And, sorry, you can't do this. You can't swim. So I said, okay, hold my beer. I'll be back. So, I went to the fleet, and, and I learned, so that's what I want to do. So I want to learn. So I learned how to swim and came back to the test again and finished the thing and
became a SEAL.
Story short, yes.
So then you're on a mission in Panama, and you guys are securing President Noriega's plane, and things go bad. What happened?
Yeah, 1989, Operation Just Cause. Our job was, pretty much just secure the airport. Don't let the plane take off. And, long story short, Bob, a lot of things went wrong. You know what I mean? You were in front of pretty much a firing squad, and you can't shoot back until they shoot at you first. You know what I mean? So, that's how pretty much it happened. By the time they opened up fire on us, pretty much everybody in my squad was shot, but one guy. 4 of my teammates were killed. And, I consider myself lucky, Bob, because, I got to come back, see my mom, see my sisters, have a life.
Right.
And
that life began in the hospital. You were shot in the back, paralyzed from waist down. What did you know about people in wheelchairs? And what did you think your life was going to be?
I mean, that was the thing, and I think still the thing for a lot of people is the not knowing. I mean, when you wake up in the bed and it really sinks in that, dude, you're not going to walk anymore. Let's reset, see what's going to happen. But you don't have any reference, what is it, someone in a wheelchair, how do they live like? In my mind is what you see on Born on the 4th of July, for example, that movie, that's the reference back then. I went to, like this guy that, and it wasn't good. It wasn't until I found sports, because it was a big thing that my physical therapist at the VA hospital used, as a tool to get people out there. She threw me in a racing chair, and the hospital's hallway, and she just pushed me around. I'm like, man, this is incredible. Next day we went to a park, got in the racing chair. There was another guy there, a paralyzed guy there with a little bit more experience, which became my mentor at the time. Tom Tilden is his name. And I realized, wow, this is going to be completely different. It's going to be really up to me. The door is open now. Go through and figure it out.
At that point, there's racing chairs, but I don't even think hand cycles were around at that point. They're
No,
just
very little.
very little.
Yeah,
When did you hear about the Ironman? And 94, John Franks came over and didn't make the bike cutoff times. That was the first time a hand cycle athlete tried to do it.
Right.
And John McLean from Australia came over in 95, 96, 97. He finally made all the cutoff times. At that point, were you following this? Were you thinking, you know what, that's something I want to do?
But I just ran into an article about that, about John Franks, actually. And I was at that point where Paralympics was too soon for me. There was no way I was going to be able to do that, and then but I won something like a big challenge. And I was just reading a magazine. I saw something about the Ironman in Hawaii, and I said, I can do that. You know what I mean? That's when the seed was planted, and I went in and I started training. I figured out what kind of bikes to use. And then in 1997, I went to Panama City for the qualifier, and I wound up with a kidney stone morning of the race. Couldn't go qualify. Scott McNeese was there. A couple other people were there. So they went. That's when John finished the Ironman for the first time, which was unbelievable, and so I knew it was doable at the time. So, the thing was, couldn't I do it? That was my point.
Yes. And then you went over to 98, you go to Lubbock to try to qualify down Buffalo Springs, and it's you and David Bailey.
Yes.
And Bailey, I think, crunched you there.
Oh yeah. He, man, I missed that time. Oh, I missed that time so much, because of, it was all unknown. It was an unknown for me, for him, for a lot of people. It's like, okay. I mean, I remember David drove from California to Texas without air conditioning in his car.
Yes, he did.
So he'll get used to it. You know what I mean? So we were like pulling things from the air, trying to figure out how do you train, how you try to finish this thing. But for me, I just wanted to go to Hawaii and do this thing. And I didn't care if I was going to win or lose, or, I just wanted to finish. And I think David was the same way. You know what I mean? Let's just go and figure it out.
I remember you telling me once that what made the Ironman special for you is that you were the same as everybody else. When you left your chair, you were just another athlete. Was that something that hit you pretty quickly, that, you know what, when I'm out here, I am the same as everybody else?
Pretty much. I mean, that was the feeling, that first kind of overwhelming. Like, wow, once you get on the pier, and I get in that, and racing chair, or get in the water right off to swim. I'm with everybody else, doing the same thing as everybody else at the same time, hoping to finish at the same time as everybody else. You know what I mean? And nobody's looking at me like, hey, you don't belong here. That was the great thing about it. It's like, dude, finally you're here. Welcome to the club.
I always say that Ironman and triathlon and all of our sports, equal opportunity abuser. Doesn't matter. Big, short, wheelchair, missing a leg, blind, come on out here and see what you got. So that year in 98, the course record, the people who did the Ironman back in 78 and 79 when the event started, they went, Tom Warren in 79 went like 11 hours, 15 minutes. You went 10:55 in 1998. You went faster than the able-bodied guys had gone 10 years earlier. And basically, I think the message was, you give us an opportunity, we'll take advantage of that opportunity, and we'll show what somebody can do swimming, hand cycling, and racing chair.
Yeah. And I think the great thing was, because the Ironman is not a disability-specific sport, it went out to the masses. I think was great for disabled sports, because the masses were able to see something happen on TV with everybody else, where there's three guys in wheelchairs doing the same thing at the same time. You know what I mean? So people started looking at us not as just guys trying to show that we can do this, but we became athletes.
No question. And the cool part was the rivalry between you. You're the Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL, and David Bailey's motocross world champion for 98, 99, 2000. two great athletes going head to head, trying to win the same prize. You win the first 2 years, David win third year. But what hit me most was that people were drawn to it, the same as they were to Mark Allen and Dave Scott and Paul Newby Frazier and Aaron Baker. Those two great athletes who wanted the same prize. Could you feel that people are on the course cheering for both of you because they realized the rivalry was real?
Oh yeah, I think so for sure. You know, I mean, like I said, they forgot about the two guys in chairs. They were looking at you guys. They have been training like crazy for the past 2 years. And I mean, they want to be the first one across that line, even though they're friends. Once they get on that course, man, you know, he's my enemy. You know what I mean? And then I got to do whatever I can to beat him to the finish line. You know what I mean? And people were looking at that. They were not looking at me like, oh, poor guy, he can't walk. He's trying to do this thing. You know what I mean? Like, what? That guy's been training. Did I see him? You know what I mean? So they were looking at that, at the battle that was happening.
So you're one of those guys who changes perceptions. Obviously, going 10:55, winning the Ironman 5 times. For 50, were you 50 when you won the Ironman the last time?
53.
53 when you win the Ironman handcycle division. Doing race across America on a relay team, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. When you look at everything, all the different things you've done, what was the toughest challenge for you?
The toughest challenge?
Yeah.
It was the first time I went to Kona, you know, because it was an unknown. That was my favorite finish line. You know what I mean? That's the finish line that's been tattooed to my brain. That, you know, is my go-to image. You know, and I'm hurting. Like, dude, you cross that finish line, you know, not knowing if you're going to be able to. So you can do this one as well.
So now you are a coach. Right? You are running our CAF women's handcycling team. Talk a little bit about that and talk about how training has changed. When we first went over to Kona, handcycles were probably close to 30 pounds. Now they're a lot lighter. Now the techniques, the training techniques and wattage, all the rest of that comes into the game. How has it all changed in that period of time?
I mean, what changes the technology that's available to us, Bob? You know, I mean, it became more mainstream for you to be focused on disabled sports. For a coach, for example, you know, to go to school and learn specifically about that. So the technology made a huge difference. The equipment, I mean, twofold. I mean, all the bikes they have now is most likely half of the weight of ours. But the main thing really is the training. You know, people just learn how to train. Now they can do things, you know, more efficiently, more effective, you know, and with the same amount of time. And that was the big change, I think, that more technology was implemented into sport. But they could have stayed, you know, stagnant for many years, you know, but people got into it and they developed and developed and developed.
How cool was it to travel around the country last year with a women's handcycling team?
I mean,
nobody's ever done that before.
You know, what we like about that team, Bob, is the camaraderie, you know what I mean? And the sense of community, you know what I mean? Like, they feel like they belong, you know what I mean? And what I love about them is that they're, you know, they're really great, you know, role models for other female athletes, you know, all athletes, but specifically female, young female athletes, you know what I mean? Because they're the future of the sport. You know, I've done my sport. Now I want to make sure that the future is secure, you know, with more people.
We've talked a number of times and you travel the world and you told me once that people don't understand there is nothing like CAF anywhere else in the world. Explain it. How are we different?
Bob, I mean, Challenge Athletes Foundation is different in many ways. You know what I mean? They were able to, you know, have adaptive sports, you know what I mean? And they're one of the reasons technology has spiked. They're the reason that people got more into sports. They're the reason, you know, people look at, you know, as someone in a wheelchair doing a sport, and they look at them as athletes, not as someone with a disability. You know what I mean? They see Tatiana McFadden, they see Scout Bassett out there running, you know, like to win. Like, there's nothing wrong with that girl. You know what I mean? She can run, you know. And so CAF, I mean, the reach is so amazing, you know what I mean, that you can't compare it to any other organization out there, you know what I mean? Because it's all about let's bring them what they need now.
One of the stories I love is Christina Easler, who both of us got a chance to meet over this last year. She was paralyzed 2018, hit by a truck. She was an Ironman finisher, paralyzed from the waist down, and went on over. And you, last spring, you brought her a handcycle. You drove 2.5 hours each way to bring her a handcycle. And this last weekend, she did her first multi-sport event since then. Are those type of moments when you see a Christina do a bike run using her regular everyday chair and using a handcycle and then run the chair again, those moments mean as much to you as the races?
Of course it does, Bob, because that's the conclusion of CAF's work. I mean, when everything falls in place, she finds a path and she realizes, yes, everything's going to be all right. Because when I met Christina, she wasn't doing well, until she realizes that, wow, there's all this stuff out there, and it's going to be up to me to get out and do it. But there will be support, there will be resources, and that's what, that's what CAF does.
So, Carlos, these are our rapid fires. Best CAF memory.
Meeting Rudy Garcia Tosin.
Really?
Yes.
Was he a little kid at the time?
Yes, I have a picture of him, man. He is like not even on my shoulder.
What's your go-to comfort food?
Bread. Dude, bread with butter, bread with peanut butter, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I eat bread all day long.
I can't eat bread, baby. I had to cut that.
That's all I eat.
Oh, you are a lucky guy. You are a lucky man. Most recent TV show binge.
We've been watching Breaking Bad. Pretty amazing. We're hooked. We're marathoning this whole thing.
Favorite book or podcast?
Let me see. One book that actually helped me through SEAL training was Sniper. The story of Carlos Hitchcock. Who was a Vietnam era sniper.
Proudest moment?
Having my son being born. This is my family getting bigger.
Person you miss seeing the most during these times?
My mom and my family. Because I never get to see her a whole lot anyway.
Place you can't wait to visit when this pandemic is over?
San Diego.
Favorite thing to do with your son? What do you like doing with your son?
Spencer and I, Spencer is a brainiac, dude, and I am an athlete, So the thing that I love to do with Spencer the most is when we do something athletic. When we go out riding our bikes, so I really cherish that. We don't do as much as I wish, as we should, but that's my favorite time.
What words do you love to hear from a coach?
Well done, we're making progress.
What words do you hate to hear from a coach?
No progress. That's the worst, man. You work for months on end and you do your test and like, wow, something happened here. And then we have to figure it out.
When you think about all the people, all of our challenge athletes who are at home now,
right,
and aren't able to get out and do the things they love to do, what's your message to them during these pretty tough times?
Yeah, Bob, it's really, really hard. But here's the thing, most people with disability, most of our challenge athletes, they're pretty tough. They're going to get through this because they know something better is coming towards them at the end. Because we're here, we're going to make sure they're connected. We'll make sure that they have this path to follow for those that need it. There's a lot of people out there that live by themselves. They live alone. I'm very fortunate. I have my wife with me. I have my son with me. So we're good. Some people are there by themselves. So I want them to know that CAF is here for them. If they feel lonely, if they feel, alone, dial that number, call someone, get on the internet and contact one of us, because CAF is not an organization. It's not a nonprofit. It's a family. you know, and people just join this family, and then we'll be there for you as much as we can. Simple as that.
So if Carlos Moleda today rolled into the hospital room of Carlos Moleda right after he was injured, what would you say to that kid?
What would I tell me? Myself.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, there's hope. You know, that's the thing, that you can't give up. You know what I mean? You can't just say, you know, what's the point? You know what I mean? You figure out what the problem is, and then you have work to do. Go do it and go figure it out. People think as having problems, oh, I have this, I have that. No, you just have some work to do.
Love it. Carlos, as always, thanks so much for taking time, man. It's always, you are a ray of sunshine, my man. It's always so much fun to chat with you.
Thank you, Bob. I love doing this. You know me. This is my calling.
The legend, the USA Triathlon Hall of Famer, Mr. Carlos Moleda, has been our guest, everybody. Thanks, Carlos. You are the absolute best.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.